The courts, they are the cloud over all of this, and Judge Amy Coney Barrett this week became Justice Barrett. As the Senate confirmed her on a 52-48 vote, Democrats remain outraged about that process, but Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has certainly been taking a victory lap. Justice Barrett has not yet participated in election cases, but that could change in the coming weeks amid the court challenges referenced by Dan on vote counts. Kristen, when you look at the court challenges on the horizon, what's the preparation going on in both parties?
Oh boy, a lot of preparation, that is for sure. And of course, questions to Justice Amy Coney Barrett, would she recuse herself? And she's declined to answer that question. But that alone could energize voters to come out and perhaps the president's supporters to turn out. But we do know that both campaigns already have a robust effort in these critical states. They are ready if and when there are legal challenges to meet those legal challenges. And again, they are underscoring to voters that the key here is patience. I have to tell you, I spent time in Florida this week as well, in Tampa. And of course, that is a part of a critical swing district. And I spoke with election officials there. And what's significant about Florida, of course, is that they are already counting those early votes. And so they say it is likely we will know the results of Florida, if not on election night, soon thereafter. That is a big, big prize with its 29 electoral votes. But in those other critical states, that is where the action is going to be. And both sides say they're ready for it.
Yamiche, I spoke to Jim Clyburn, the House Majority Whip, this week, and he expressed a lot of concern about voter suppression in his state of South Carolina. Jamie Harrison, the Democrat, trying to topple incumbent Lindsey Graham, the longtime Republican senator. You track voter suppression around the country. What are activist groups and Democratic leaders saying behind the scenes about what they're detecting on the ground?
Well, there's a lot of nervousness about voter suppression, especially looking at states like South Carolina, looking at states like Georgia. People are very worried that the Republican legislatures, which of course are many and plentiful in this country, that they will somehow find a way to have legislation as well as backing of voter suppression efforts. They're very worried that there are polling stations that are going to be closed. They're very worried about long lines. People have faced hours, sometimes 4 hours, 6 hours to vote in this country. Republicans have been the party that historically has had the most voter suppression in terms of allegations. We all remember that North Carolina judge saying that in that state, Republicans targeted black voters with surgical precision to try to suppress their vote. So I think there's a lot of nervousness among Democrats. That's why you've heard Joe Biden say, as well as Michelle Obama, as well as Barack Obama, vote early, make a plan, because Democrats understand that they might be up against voter suppression efforts, and they want an electorate that understands that this is an election that they want to see a blowout with, because any sort of issues with voter suppression, any sort of close elections, that makes people very, very nervous. That makes people feel like there might be litigation. As Kristen said very smartly, both campaigns have amassed numbers of lawyers to get ready for this. The RNC telling me just tonight that they have $20 million set aside already for legal battles ahead. So what you see is both campaigns being very, very nervous, but on the Democratic side in particular, being nervous about voter suppression.
Dan, when we all wake up on Wednesday morning, we may end up staying up all night, of course. What's your outlook for the U.S. Senate majority and the U.S. House? Does it remain in Democratic hands in the House and in Republican hands in the Senate? I mean, you look at some of these Senate races, Dan, like Michigan, very tight up there. Montana, pretty tight. South Carolina also in the mix.
Bob, I think everybody believes that the Democrats will continue to hold the House and might, in fact, add to their majority in the House. In the Senate, Republicans are quite nervous about their ability to hold on to their majority. There are several races that they are pretty much given up on, Colorado being one, Arizona being another. We know that in Maine, Senator Collins is in real trouble. We know that in Iowa, Senator Joni Ernst is in trouble. There are any number of races, and there are two in Georgia that look very close at this point and are likely to one or both go into a runoff. So I think at this point, Republicans are fearful that the majority that they have will disappear on election night, but it's certainly not a given.
And Kristen, it appears the president's running his own campaign. He was there in Arizona with Senator McSally. He brought her on stage for what seemed like a minute, and then she got off the stage. She, of course, had a moment at a debate a few weeks ago where she wasn't clear when she was asked about whether she's proud to stand with President Trump.
Well, absolutely. And all of those senators who are in tough spots are being pressed on what they think about President Trump's handling of the COVID crisis. And so that has created some real tensions. And I think that moment that you reference underscores exactly what we are seeing in these key races. Here, the president had her on stage, barely a ringing endorsement from President Trump for her. She was just there for a minute, as you say. And so it just speaks to how precarious some of these seats actually are. You talk about Georgia and that race between Jon Ossoff and Perdue, for example. That's one of the races that undoubtedly is going to drive turnout in that state. That's one of the reasons that you saw Biden campaigning there earlier this week, not just because he believes he potentially could pull off a win in reliably red Georgia, but also because he wants to drive up the turnout for those critical Senate races in that state.